Absolutely, and hopefully we're going to see some stars come out tonight. We're just about to get going here. The isolation marshal is waiting to pull the first competitor out. First two competitors are going to be Harper Medjios and Kira Larson. They're going to brush the boulders. What does the brushing do for them?
So over time, the chalk is going to build up on those holds. And look, a little bit of a chalk on the holds is good. You don't really want a really raw hold that's super fresh. It's way too much friction. But too much is also going to make it super slippery. So brushing off the excess so that they have the right level of friction to be able to hold onto the hold. Hold onto the hold. Kira
is using that friction really well right now as she's eyeing up the zone hold. She drops into that undercling and just gets it, and that is not going to count as a zone. You need control when you hit that zone. We saw Harper, we just missed him off screen. I believe he just got the top on the first boulder, first try.
Kira's back on women's one. Kira's home gym is Boulder Lab. I see Kira in the gym there all the time. That's where I climb as well. Kira's also always flashing my projects.
Absolutely, yeah. She's one of the coaches that works with me actually at Bayside Rock as well. Really, really experienced competitor. Been going since Open C. Since Junior C.
Amazing use of body positioning here. Oh. So the climbers we have here today are the first climbers in this gym. And Kira's back on, approaching the zone again.
She's in that undercling as she moves into the zone hold. Looks like she's about to do that spin around move that we were talking about. Want to see something special here from Kira. She's really struggling with that zone as she spins around and just misses the volume off to the left. She's been climbing for such a long time, and I've seen it firsthand. She can figure things out and she can break things. It happens all the time when I see her climbing, so we could see something pretty special tonight with Kira. Slips off just going for that zone hold there. She jumps straight back on. Time becoming a factor.
The level of commitment and persistence. Jumping back on that boulder with only 30 seconds left on the clock. Okay. Oh, and falls off before the zone.
She might have time for another attempt. Hopefully, no, she's coming off. So now we're going to have Dylan Marlowe for the males and Noemi Lehigh Katie, sorry.
Now, Noemi is coming to us from Montreal, Canada. She's climbed at the Canadian Nationals before and only started competing in 2023, so super exciting to have her in this comp.
Absolutely, as we get a bit more vision of that first men's boulder that Dylan Marlowe's on as well now. Dylan actually injured his bicep in the qualifiers, so we might see a bit of a lack of power on a move like this, requiring quite the wind-up. Dylan's also a youth speed world world competitor as he sticks that zone hold.
Pretty diverse and awesome. Oh, top for Dylan. It's really good. Yeah, to see somebody so competitive in both bouldering and speed climbing, it's not super common. Being a boulderer and a speed climber is almost like being a multi-sport athlete. They're so different.
It's like running the 100 and doing archery, I would say.
Yep.
Maybe there's a little bit more similarities than that, but
it's something like that.
They are certainly very different.
Yeah.
As we say, Noemi inching towards that zone hold. She obtains the zone. I'm not quite sure if that was her first time as she falls. Yeah, so that zone might come down to the judge. So I guess we'll have to wait and see to see the scores there. So I think we can see down in the bottom she has not been awarded that zone yet.
Yeah. Hasn't been able to get to that spin around move that we saw Kira get to. That is an incredibly steep, slippery volume. She really needs to keep her heel dropped and just put as much pressure through her foot as she can. Something that I'm really bad at, actually. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's so scary in a competition to place all that weight through your foot, especially when you're on something you can't trust. It's kind of like a little counterintuitive. The less you can trust it, the more you probably should be pressing through it to make sure it stays. Katoro and Roxy Perry.
And she's heading off to another World Cup in Korea in October.
Yeah. She's a Tasmanian climber. She's won Australian championships. Oh, as we see a really scary fall there. Hopefully we don't see any blood after that. He seemed to scrape his arm down that first volume.
Pretty gnarly jump.
Kotaro is fresh from Japan in Australia at the moment, climbing out of Urban Climb. He is a Youth Japan Cup bronze medalist, which is a massive deal, as we were talking about before. Japan is a very competitive country.
Yeah, if you are watching or have been watching the Youth World Championships over the past couple of weeks, you would see a super strong Youth Japan team. Obviously, their open team is crushing it as well. So to be able to podium at a Japanese national event is huge.
Massive. Roxy's moving through the zone hold now. She's really struggling to use that crimp. She's maybe not thinking about that turnaround move as much as we saw Kira trying it. Oh, now it looks like she's going to commit to it. The crowd giving her a little bit of encouragement when they saw it as she slipped off, didn't quite commit to it properly.
The crowd definitely giving her a little hint towards the beta in that way. Yeah. As soon as she faced the crowd, they started going off.
Yeah. Kotaro has managed to make it to the zone, and he's just looking at that top hold now, trying to figure out how to get there. He says his favorite type of climbing style is crimps as he makes the top on a boulder that I don't think I saw a single crimp on. So well done to Kotaro.
Yeah, amazing effort.
Looks state of the art. And that's really what we're trying to aim towards with our Australian climbing scene at the moment. We're hoping to see some more gyms pop up that really want to invest in that training side of climbing to make sure that our team performs at the best we can on the world stage, especially as we get to Brisbane 2032.
Absolutely.
We see Roxy coming into the match, back into that zone hold. We're hoping to see her complete that spin move, or she might decide to do something slightly different as the minute clock beeps. She's limited in time here, so this could be her last attempt.
No.
She decides to match the hold. She might be changing her method here. You might see something different.
She definitely doesn't want to spin around. She's really committed to the right hand on that hold now, which is going to make that turnaround move hard if she wants to go back to that. So I think we're going to see a foot swap here.
Yeah, we saw her laughing on the wall just a moment ago. She's a little bit perplexed potentially. Yeah, she might be coming back to really change her method. Don't really know what she's going for here. It looks like a bit of a blend of the two as she starts that turnaround. Oh, just misses the volume.
She didn't quite reach it.
Really depends. There are certainly some really high-end climbers who do zero S&C.
Absolutely.
Amazing to me because I feel like S&C has been something that's really helped my climbing.
It has for me as well. Yeah. I think it was absolute game changer when I started strength training. Really took my climbing to another level.
Totally.
But, that was probably something that was missing in my repertoire. But definitely good to get over a plateau as well, I find, just mixing it up in general.
Totally. Going between the two is definitely a great strategy. As we see Tao pulling into that zone hold now. She's seeming to cruise this. She says she loves crimps, according to Tao. She's finding the matching on this crimp very easy compared to the other competitors. She's just swapping hands left, right, and center.
Tao is one of our most impressive local youth climbers. She's at every single competition and she's crushing all over the country. She came first this year in the Island Crown, second in West Coast blocks, and constantly crushing at boulder comps. I've seen her beat grown men in social boulder comps. She's amazing.
We've also got Riley on the mats at the moment. He is a Youth World Cup finalist. So again, a really seasoned competitor in Riley Thurston here. See what he has for us today. Just missing that hold, I think, on his third attempt. Tao owning that crimp there. Just swapping hands, seeming like it's nothing compared to the other competitors. Yeah. She seems like she wants to go with a face-on approach here. As she slips, really spooky fall. We heard a bang. Tried to foot swap, but she took a really nasty fall. We heard a bang over here in the commentary box. We hope she's okay. But we may not see that method again as we see Riley lining up the men's one, really struggling with this first move.
Now, in terms of Tao coming off the wall, the one thing I know about youth climbers is, they recover pretty well.
Absolutely.
I reckon she's fine.
Something we definitely envy a lot.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. Lots of confidence with Tao again coming back into that first position. She puts her left foot on the hold again.
Yeah, she certainly didn't let that fall shake her. She's still looking super confident on that boulder.
as she goes for the beta we think is probably intended.
And see if she can stick it this time. We've got less than a minute on the clock.
See both competitors on the wall right now. Let's see if we can see something special. Riley not quite getting enough power there on the coordination move. Tao nearly sticking it. Just both competitors getting so close here.
Yeah.
Riley really struggling to stand on that volume, I think. I think we're seeing a lot more, a lot of struggle on these slopey volumes in this comp today.
That's it.
But Riley seeming a little bit frustrated as he rapid fires that first move.
He's not giving up though, and I love to see persistence from a climber. Really
and
good
they're
effort
going to
on
time
that.
out, unfortunately. Okay, now we have Enrico and Charlotte coming out.
And Charlotte's from England by way of Tasmania. I'm so glad that Charlotte came to Melbourne after many years in Tasmania. She's an amazing coach. I got to do a training block with her recently, and super creative, super fun person, and just absolute crusher on the wall. Enrico is like a dyno king.
Absolutely,
So many youth climbers go to him specifically for like dynamic coordination training. I could learn a thing or two from him for sure.
Where Enrico and I actually share a competitor in the youth circuit named Renee. Shout out to Renee. He'll be watching this now as Enrico sticks that first move.
Nice, Enrico. We know Renee is living it up in the YouTube comments right now.
Yeah, he's been blowing up in the YouTube comments. He's over in China right now for the Youth World Champs.
Amazing.
He'd be cheering on Enrico right now as he just drops that top move. Having a read.
I think Charlotte, she's coming back from injury. So it's really impressive to see her in finals. And she's performed really well today, qualifying in second place.
Something I noticed about Charlotte is just that she's very, very focused when she's competing.
Yep.
Super, super focused and very relaxed and just knows her routine really well. Oh, she nearly sticks that spin away.
So I think that if she can just perfect that, she's nailed it.
Absolutely.
And what do you think from there? We haven't seen any climbers actually nail that move. What do you think of the rest of that boulder?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to see from that next top section, but I'm really hoping that we see somebody get past that zone so we can get an idea of what we're going to see.
Me too.
Really excited to see that move get executed as Enrico looks to top this boulder and rectify his mistakes from that 2 attempts ago.
He knows what to do. Now you just have to execute it.
No, so close. Seems like he has to use that volume to slow that movement down as we have Charlotte on the wall at the moment, going for the execution of that spin around move again.
Oh, super close on that one.
Hopefully we'll see the experience of these two really shine through in the next couple of attempts.
Yep, they're both back on the wall.
Both
and they're
on at
both
the same
up
time.
to the same moves that they've come off.
Yeah. We have Charlotte falling off camera, unfortunately.
I didn't see that, but I heard it.
Absolutely. Enrico, no, dropping off again.
Looks like he's looking for something to do with his right leg and doesn't quite know where it should be.
So we've got our 2 top-seeded competitors in Claire Sheffings and Ned Middlehurst coming out now. Ned says in his little informational pamphlet that he had to work on not smiling in his competition so that he could focus a lot harder. So we're not going to see many happy faces from Ned here.
I think that's what I do, but on accident. I look really serious and really stressed when I'm climbing. And I'm actually working on trying to show my enjoyment in climbing more, because I feel like when you're having fun, you're climbing well.
Absolutely.
And I want that to come out in my competition climbing as well.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to smile more.
Focus and enjoyment, I think, is the recipe for success
That's
here.
it. You're potentially just trying a move again and again that's never going to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're so focused on doing something using one method only instead of trying different ways. Look, they've only got 4 minutes, and a lot of that time is spent resting between attempts. If you don't get it the first go, it's not super smart to just jump straight back on the wall.
Absolutely, and that's what we saw Riley kind of doing a little bit earlier, just going and going and going, probably out of a place of frustration.
Yeah.
Whereas right now we're seeing Ned off screen taking his time as Claire falls off that zone move as well.
And then really kind of going hard on the last one.
Absolutely, and not just energy, but also skin. It is the valuable resource in our sport, which is quite unfortunate as we see Ned sticking that first zone move. looking really composed to really slow down here to try and make sure he gets this section right. He does not want to do it again. Claire is in the corner on her problem as well. As Ned just falls off that last move. Really delicate there.
And these Open A climbers, they started climbing this morning at 8 a.m. So they have really been going at it all day. They finished their qualifying round around 10. And hopefully they've been able to go away and have a good rest and be able to recover for finals tonight.
Absolutely. I was talking to Ned earlier and he went to somebody else's house to have a really big nap before he came back here.
Yeah.
I think for me, a nap would probably make it so that I couldn't really wake up for the boulder round, but these athletes know what they're doing.
I heard from a couple of the girls as well. They also went back to various places to sleep.
Ned sticks the top move using a heel hook on that sloper. Really interesting there. So that must be the method to get it in the most controlled way possible.
Absolutely.
We saw a less dynamic way of doing that with Ned there. As we see Claire really struggling with that zone hold.
But even as he comes off the wall, you see his heels slip off. So it doesn't look like a super secure position.
Yeah.
But seems to be a better method potentially than trying to control that barn door.
So we've got Boulder 2 coming out now. We've got Kira and Harper-Migios back.
That
cave
was
routes
a
are too long
beautiful
for me.
start from Kira. I know. Have you climbed at the cave at Rocket in Footscray?
Yeah, that's too long.
It's long. That's a route.
End of the session for me.
Now, there's been a lot of talk online lately about run jump starts in boulder comps.
Absolutely.
We're seeing a lot more of it both in World Cups and at the Olympics. Seems to be pretty popular at the moment.
And Kira's one of our shorter competitors as well, so she really made really easy work of that run and jump start, which is usually what we see shorter climbers struggle with, as she uses a toe hook to come into that left hand really powerfully. Wow. Using such grit and determination to get into that zone hold. As we said, Kira's known for her flexibility. She's also known for her footwork, as we saw something really amazing happen there.
A lot of these boulders that they're setting in the cave, they tend to be super powerful, and you probably aren't going to be able to get a lot of attempts in on these boulders because they require so much energy.
Absolutely. We see Harper falling off there. Kira's back on her boulder. See if she can stick this move again. Uses a toe hook to move in so powerfully. Going to see the same jump method to the zone. She controls it a lot easier that time. See what Kira can do here. She uses her heel. As we said earlier, using her flexibility, moves up to that next hold. Kira looking super solid here as she gains the top. Super solid from Kira. So much determination to get up there. Harper's back on after a really long rest on our purple and green boulder, M2. Seems like he was kind of going for a weird knee bar there to try and make the move a little bit slower.
And requiring so much body tension coming through this kind of upside down section. He's back on.
May not be enough time to get through a powerful boulder such as this. Yeah, he's looking tired, his shoulder. So we've got Dylan back on again, our speed climber with his injured bicep.
Doesn't get any worse through this round.
Got Noemi back on female 2 as Dylan reaches up to that first hold. Uses a toe hook to match. Yeah, really seems like he's struggling to use that arm there. Really tentative trying to match that crimp there. As we see Noemi move through the first position and she establishes on the start.
Yeah.
Use her heels really strongly here. She moves into the first hold of the boulder.
I like the jumping method. That's probably what I would attempt. But look, if you have the control and are able to find the right foot position, I'm sure you could do that statically.
All to sort of like suit the climbers and make sure that they can kind of use their style to their advantage. As we see Noemi moving back into that position again. We'll see if she jumps this time or wants to use her heel. Looks like she's sizing up for the jump. Can't quite get the power there.
It almost looked like she didn't quite know what she wanted to do there. It wasn't really committing either way. We got the Red Bull DJ in the house. Yeah. The vibes are really good. And Noemi's back on the boulder. Not being quite able to stick that heel. Let's see how she goes on this move again. It looks like she's trying to get a toe in on the right side, not quite making it. Kira's method with the jump looked really solid. I think that's probably the way to go.
Totally.
That's
the root set is really trying to make sure to make it as hard as possible for these athletes to move through these positions.
Yep, you can blame Pat Klein for this.
Pat is our head route setter and he's with us at the moment, just sort of listening in.
Just keeping a close eye on the climbers, making sure we're getting really good separation, probably relishing in their struggle.
Dylan's making really good work of this boulder as he's running out of time here. He wants to just make the zone and he does. That's going to be some really important points for Dylan Marlowe.
Both climbers sizing up their boulders.
See Kotaro, first one to pull into this move, and now he's said that he really enjoys crimp, so hoping to see something special with this boulder here as he jumps into the Gaston without any hesitation and swings into the crimp. Wow, he was not lying when he said that he liked crimps, hey.
This guy has got biceps on his fingers.
Absolutely.
Wow.
He's cutting loose on every move, so much power, and he uses some flexibility and a toe hook. You might see our first hop from Kotaro on this boulder as he reaches up with his right hand. Now, it doesn't look easy to match here. And he gets the match with a great heel hook. So good from Kotaro.
Super impressive. And we see Roxy in the background there, coming across to that big pinch. Not quite sure how she got there, but she's moving up. She's got the heel on, bumps up with her left. Same method that we saw from Kira. Right heel comes on and match. Beautiful work.
She looked like she cruised that last section of that boulder. She did so well.
Absolutely.
We see Tao now out waiting to do her first boulder, and Riley Thurston. Riley pulling into the first move. Seems maybe confident about his beta. He didn't really look too much at it. He must have remembered it in the isolation as he full crimps that first purple crimp.
But looks like he's trying to think about what he's doing off that start hold, so maybe he went into it a little bit too fast.
Yeah. Pressure might be getting to Riley a little bit. He's been rushing a little bit, and as you said, he did seem like he was thinking on that first move as Tao moves into the start position and moves on to the first move, and now she's eyeing off that zone hold.
And thinking about what to do with that right foot, kept the heel on, really good positioning.
Wow, easy work from Tao.
Cruising the top section. Hopefully he's figured out a plan and he can execute it. Oh, and he tries to skip the first crimp.
We get surprised by these competitors all the time.
That's
They're
true.
so strong.
I think you need to have like amazingly strong fingers and really good contact strength.
Whoa.
Oh, wow. And maybe he does. But he's not even crimping that hold. He was holding the side of the volume.
Yeah,
That's super
volume
impressive.
Strength. Amazing. See what Riley has here. We saw...
Now he's a little bit backwards now. Let's see.
Wow.
Oh.
Just like Kotaro, he spins around into that zone hold and then slips off. All right, he's got his methodology of this boulder. We kind of call this style compression, where we're trying to like maintain points of contact on either side of our bodies, trying to sort of press in. Next up, we're going to see Enrico and Charlotte. Enrico pulls into the first move. Maybe not so much Enrico's style. He does like his dynamic climbing. This one's very crimpy, but he's making easy work of it as he almost campuses around. I think I've seen him one arm hold like a 15mm edge before. So strong.
And Charlotte moving to that statically.
Yeah, we saw the static method. Now we'll see if she can leverage her heels and compress her way up to the top.
She's
here.
looking good. She's looking so strong.
And there's a flash from
easy
Charlotte.
work of the top of that boulder. So good.
Amazing stuff from Charlotte.
It's what we expect of her.
Absolutely, yeah. She's a very seasoned outdoor climber as well, and I think this sort of style suits somebody who likes that more like basic, strengthy style of movement. She certainly made it look easy. So we have Enrico completing that spin through, opting to use his feet, which is not like him.
Yeah, getting a heel on that crimp.
Yeah, wow. Oh, okay, well, he will get a zone for that. Enrico looking really focused here, not his usual smiley, laughing self. Seems like he really wants it here as he fires off that right hold. Absolutely, and as we were saying before, the skin tax on these boulders is intense, and they got to make sure that they're trying to maintain it as much as they can.
Surviving a boulder comp and keeping your skin intact.
Absolutely. Enrico fires straight back on the boulder. And he He sticks it this time. No dry fire to be seen. He's really struggling to camp us in here. The fatigue would really be playing a massive factor now for Enrico. As he sticks the zone hold, we'll see how difficult the rest of the boulder is now. He looks a little bit more in control.
Let's go, Enrico.
Much harder than I thought. Our first seeded competitors in Claire Sheffings and Ned Middlehurst. As we saw before, we saw Enrico fire off one of those holds.
Yep.
I think blowing on the fingers is one of the strategies Ned's trying to use to make sure that his fingers stay as cool as they can so he has as much friction as possible so we don't see another dry fire.
Super
interesting. He pulls into that first position onto the first crimp.
Oh, and Claire is already up to those white pinches.
Whoa, that was synchronized. Like we were talking about before, very cool from both the competitors as Ned swings through with ease. Claire sizing up that top hold and she sticks it. Made that boulder look super easy.
Truly,
well done from Claire. Ned's still on the boulder. He's hit that zone hold, opts not to heel hook, opts to just use the wall as a smear.
Oh, he's got a heel underneath that sloper, almost like a heel-toe cam behind it.
Really amazing display of power here from Ned. Stops it with kind of a guppy type position here as he matches it and gets that top hold in one attempt. Yeah,
So-
watch this replay. Here we go. We're going to see that. Look at that.
Oh, that's
Beautiful
so
stuff.
good.
Kira's already on her third boulder here. Kind of see what's going on there. This is a slab, so she's going to be using a lot of delicate footwork. Both climbers on two very delicate looking climbs here.
That's
Bit of
it.
a change up from what we saw before.
This is a lot more technical climbing. Going to have to basically take all of that adrenaline and all of that power that they had in the last boulder and just bring it down 10 notches and really remain composed and balanced through these sections.
Yeah. You've got to make sure that you're not at all shaking anymore when you're on these kinds of boulders. If your leg shakes, that could be the difference between topping and falling off on the last move. So both competitors are trying to slow down as much as they can here. So you see Harper using lots of drop knees to try and press through this section.
Yeah, trying to maintain tension between those volumes.
As we mentioned before, we saw a slip as Kira's on the zone hold now. We missed the first section of it, but she's doing really well to get through this boulder. She'd be awarded the zone from there because she showed some control on that zone hold. Kira just trying to figure it out on the fly here. A lot of the time on the slabs, you can sort of like riff off what's going on when you're up there a little bit more because you have a little bit more time because you're sort of standing on your feet a little bit more.
So you can probably get a few more attempts in on a slab climb to the cave. So we see Kira not really taking a lot of rest time in between attempts. She's right back on the wall already.
Kira's so smooth on this move.
And I think in this next move where she stems across the two volumes, you really see her flexibility come into play as well.
Absolutely. Kira's really taking it slow. She's opted to take a chalk bag up to make sure that she can maintain as much friction as she can as she moves through.
That's
to make sure that they can stay in a calm state of mind for this boulder.
Yeah, depending on the individual, this type of environment and this loud music can be really, really distracting. But a lot of comp climbers are so used to it, they can tune it out really easily.
Absolutely. I'm struggling to tune it out and I'm not even climbing.
I think I could tune it out a lot better if I was on the wall.
Okay.
There, compared to being able to talk while you're listening to music at the same time. It's a lot.
Yeah, so what we're saying is we've got the hard job.
Yeah, truly.
Not these climbers.
We're suffering.
Kira's really using her flexibility here.
Wow, that was super interesting. Coming up to that top volume and getting her foot on that crimp instead of dropping it down.
Harper's making some progress here on this boulder now.
And it looks like Kira has finished her attempt on that. She's walking off the mats. 10 seconds to go. Can we get a zone? Not quite.
Very hard to kind of get to the top when you're only halfway through a boulder.
MC is actively doing a play-by-play of what they're doing while they're on the wall, and they have to try and ignore that while they're climbing.
Do you find when you're at the World Cups, the MC will say something that you're almost in disagreement with, or like they're commenting on what you're doing, but you're like, no, that's absolutely not what's happening right now?
I cannot hear them.
Oh, okay.
I just completely
White
tune them
noise to
out.
you.
So usually I can hear them when I first get on the wall. And then once I'm really in the flow of the route, I basically can't hear anything. I'm in my own world.
I would say that would definitely be helpful.
Yep, for sure.
Both of these competitors taking it really slow here. Dylan's making some good progress that we didn't quite see from Harper on the first boulder.
It's almost like we're seeing them climb in slow-mo compared to the last climbers on the wall.
Totally.
Super
The route setters have done a
interesting.
great job to pair these boulders together. They've really sort of selected the same style per like round for
Yep.
each boulder. This really slow style, and
It's
it
really
almost looks
cool.
quite synchronized again.
They're both very low traverses. Like in terms of their height on the wall, they're not super high up, but they do have much higher top holds. So hopefully we can see them get through the traverse and we can see that big final move.
Absolutely.
You know, they had these route setting guidelines that said, you know, across the 4 boulders there had to be an electric boulder and a power boulder and a technical and so on. And so we ended up seeing a lot of kind of synchronicity across the men's and the women's categories where they were almost mirroring the same boulders across 2 different categories. It was really cool to see.
Yeah. We get our first zone now on female 3.
You can see Noemi's trying really hard at this.
So speaking about these boulder types, what would you consider this one? Would it be electric?
Maybe the last move's electric. Let's wait and see.
Yeah. Dylan's also making some good progress off screen, but we're really focused on Noemi. She's made it the furthest out of anyone so far. She steps her foot through tenuously. She's looking really solid to reach up. But this last move and her foot pops off.
There's nothing more devastating than falling off a climb because of a foot slip.
Absolutely. It's something you can't really control a lot of the time.
That's true, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's happened to me before. It's happened to me in a World Cup final.
Whoa.
Foot slip on just the world's worst dual text jib that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was so mad and so upset about it. And at the end of the day, you know, I really had to just take ownership of that move, you know. I didn't place my foot properly. It slipped off because of a decision that I made. It wasn't something that happened to me. It was because of a choice that I made.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can really feel like the wall is fighting against you when something like that happens.
That's a really good way of saying it. I really like that. I'm going to use that in the future. Yeah, it also would teach a lot of lessons in how to deal with disappointment when something uncontrollable sort of like makes you makes a route makes you fall off a route when something uncontrollable happens. It'll help you like obviously deal with those kinds of things in the future.
Yeah, and in terms of comp climbing, if you are not comfortable with being disappointed and failing, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're Janja Garnbret,
Well,
pretty
yeah.
much all of competition is failure, a lot of it. And
That's
you're just
it.
really searching for those limited successes as the climbers time out.
Now, Roxy, she's got a smile on her face, but looks a little bit tentative.
And Kataro's.
But looking
pulls
good in
into
that first stem position.
Yeah, he seemed quite comfortable there, actually.
Yeah, got up into that quite comfortably, but looking tentative about moving out from that position.
Yeah, really trying to drop those heels to make sure he can make as much friction as he possibly can when he moves over. Doing quite well, actually, here. He'll learn from that attempt, even though he came off.
So we'll see if we've got a similar method from Kataro.
Totally. Yet to see a zone for this men's boulder.
And Roxy struggling with establishing on this boulder.
We actually saw some of the other competitors use the left volume as well to pull into it. As we see Kataro moving through this position, he's looking a lot more comfortable, sort of slips off there and had to make a snap decision.
And seeing Roxy trying a different move to get on this boulder now. She hasn't actually been able to establish the start position on this boulder yet. She's tried a jump start. I think she's tried a palm down on the left.
Yeah, we saw some of the other competitors before place multiple points of contact with on the side that only has one point of contact for the start. Now, you're allowed to do that, but you can't start the boulder once you show the points of contact that the route setters are asking for. So see, she's got 2 on the one singular taped one, but she's got to match that one on the right. Now she can start the boulder.
And that'll do it. That's her start position.
So that's completely legal. You see Kotaro making some really good progress there. He's got his foot on the zone and he slips off. Really difficult zone for this boulder.
And Roxy thinking really hard about that next move, moving super slowly, looking pretty controlled while she looks for that little foot jib on the other side of that volume.
She's really taking her time on this, much like we saw Kira earlier. Trying to really maximize her feet here so that she doesn't waste too much energy in her upper body, but she seems quite slippy on these moves. They seem quite unconfident.
Yeah, the left foot looks pretty stable, but everything else looks crazy hard.
Absolutely. So she's going to try and rock onto that left foot now, and it just didn't quite work. You see a lot of competitors getting really close to the top on their last go with like 10 seconds left, and sometimes we can see magic in that time, but sometimes we just see disappointment, and it really just depends on how the athletes bounce back from that.
That's it.
But not to call anything too soon, we could see a top here from Roxy. Got limited time left. Both climbers on the wall at the exact same time at the moment. Focus here on Roxy though.
Only 20 seconds to go. Let's see if Roxy can get a zone in that time. Not quite. Roxy comes off.
Kotaro makes it to the zone with his foot, and that's going to be the first zone on this boulder. Let's see if he can hold it together and make sure that he can get the top here.
Let's go for a buzzer beater.
What's he going to do?
Oh, not quite.
I love system boards. Do you use system boards for training much?
Yeah, I love board climbing.
Yeah, me too.
I spend a lot of time in the La Rocca Annex. They got 3 beautiful spray walls.
Yeah,
So
that is where I coach out of actually.
Yeah.
That's that small space in there is my home basically, second home.
Yep. An absolute sanctuary for me. I love it.
Absolutely.
And I've talked to the owners of Up Climbing, and they're actually really inspired by the La Rocca Annex in designing their training area. They said that they're looking to put up something similar, probably not going to be ready in time for opening, but by the end of the year, hoping to have a really nice training area set up.
Absolutely. Tao's doing really well on her first attempt here. She makes the zone on her first attempt, which is the best we've seen on this boulder so far. She moves into the crimp. She loves her crimp, so she's going to feel really stable on this.
Looking pretty good. Needs to figure out how to get that left leg up. A lot of mobility needed there.
Yes, amazing top from Tao on her first attempt. She just made it look so easy.
She really did.
You see Riley on men's 3 at the moment, taking his time here. He seems to have really kept his composure. Really going slow through this section. We're seeing him get a little bit further than some of the other competitors.
Looking reasonably stable. He's got his hips around pretty nicely, so he's establishing a more stable body position now on the other side of that volume.
Amazing foot swap as well.
Really good work. Able to get that stem across the 2 volumes. That'll be the zone, I think.
Yeah. Zone on maybe 2 to 3 attempts. Really good from Riley. He's really turned it around here. Struggling on the first couple of boulders. He seemed to have made it a little bit further than everyone else, but there's a substantial amount of time left as well.
Yeah.
See what he does for this final move. Oh.
Yeah, it seemed like he wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do there.
Tao.
Would you call that a masterclass?
A masterclass, yeah, absolutely. It seemed like as soon as she got hold of that left-hand crimp, it was all over. She could just hold that for days.
Once she was stable in that position, she actually moved up really, really easily. She made that last move look a lot easier than I thought it was going to be based on what we've seen from other competitors so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Riley's going back into that position. He's got 1 minute left, so this may be his last to second last attempt, depending on how long he wants to take for this final move. Tactics really coming into play here if he really wants the top. But he'd rather probably not have to jump onto the boulder again as he falls, and I think he's going to have to do it again. He's got the time to do it.
Youth Championship in 2016. So come on, let's cheer him on. Come on, Riley. Get him on.
Got so much tape on his fingers. How will that be influencing his climbing on these volumes?
Yeah, look, your grip on your fingers is definitely not going to be as good when they're taped up. It's still possible to grip, and look, there's enough friction that he can get through these moves, but it's really a hindrance.
Absolutely.
Especially because it looks like he's got tape almost down his whole fingers.
Yeah. as we have Enrico and Charlotte coming back out. She'll really be looking to slow it down and just take her time, because all these boulders are within all these competitors' wheelhouses. It's just all about making sure that they can perform when they need to.
That's it. Like, all of the climbers that have made finals are 100% physically and mentally capable of doing these boulders.
Absolutely.
And so much pressure on them as well.
Yeah. Charlotte's kind of struggling again with that start position, maybe not thinking about using that left hold yet. Kind of saw this a little bit before. With Roxy.
Yeah.
Hoping that Charlotte can unravel this move just like Roxy did a little bit earlier,
Not
as
quite
Enrico
sure
pulls
about
onto the
it.
first move.
Now, I think if Enrico can get through the slab section of this, I feel like he is a person who could really nail that final move.
Yeah, that is a really good call. So kind of got the harder section for Enrico at the start, but we have high hopes for that second move. We love seeing Enrico jump. Seems to just have so much spring in his step.
He's so springy.
Absolutely.
It's not fair.
He can jump from any position.
He could jump with his knees locked.
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely seen that before. Charlotte makes work of that first position, but she's going to struggle to get into the desired taped bits. There we go, as she starts the boulder properly.
Oh, and she's being called off by Campbell Harrison.
I wonder
boulder
why.
judge.
She managed to... I thought she started it quite well, but... Seems to be no disputes there. She might have had her finger on a bolt hole, as we're seeing.
She might have had her finger in a bolt hole.
Oh, that's cheeky. But it also could have just been that her finger was around that section and it was kind of hard to tell.
That's it. It can be really hard, even when you're the judge and you're sitting right in front of the boulder, to see what the climbers are doing.
Yeah.
Especially if the holds are really small and like their body is in front of the hold. And you need to be able to see how they're interacting with it at a really granular level. It can be really, really difficult.
Hoping that pull-off didn't phase Charlotte too much. She's had kind of a bit of a staggered start on this boulder.
TV team, so come on. Come on, Charlotte.
Both climbers look like they're going to pull on in the same time. Enrico's really been struggling with this first section, as we sort of suspected. We're really hoping it can get over to that last part.
Yeah, two really strong climbers on the wall at the moment, but really struggling with the starts of these boulders. And it just goes to show that sometimes something is just not your style.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, the thing is, when you have such pronounced styles, you've got to make sure that you perform on the things that are your style.
That's it.
Because you're going to really be relying on that to make sure that your result is really good in the end.
That's a reminder to everyone listening to us at home. Train your anti-style. I know you don't want to, but you have to do it.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't want to climb on slopers, ever. But, look, my coach said that they're funky, not bad.
Funky, yeah. Reframe the the wording around it.
That's
and that's how
it.
you get on it more often. Thinking about how they're going to execute these boulders, they're going to look for the flash here, I think.
Totally.
Whoa, Claire almost jumps in, first person to almost execute that perfectly. We have Ned taking his time in that pressing position. He really looks like he's out here to flash the boulders today. He's taking his time before he jumps on it, and he's really putting a lot of effort into his initial attempts.
Also, just a really great technical climber.
Absolutely, yeah. He spends a lot of time reading boulders. He really likes to get into the nitty-gritty of things, really likes to understand things to a really deep degree, and I think that really helps him in his comp climbing as the moves get more complex.
That's another thing that we could all be better at, is route reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Not a lot of us like to practice it, but again, you got to practice the things you don't like to get better at them.
Absolutely. As you might say, route reading is funky.
Something we've seen from a couple of the female competitors now.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's had a bit of trouble with this first move, except for Tao, who seemed to just pull in with complete ease. But yeah, really providing some trouble for a lot of the athletes.
Is attached to. So you can see on the left side there, the single point of contact on that really big volume. There are two more volumes on that volume, and one of them has a jib on it.
I think when we've seen them do it successfully, it's looked quite similar, but a lot of the positions these athletes are holding on these volumes are really different compared to one another. And I think that really has something to do with like their heights and things like that,
That's
and their
it.
personal strengths in their shoulders. As we see Claire establishing on the boulder for the first time so far.
And she's gone for the same method that a couple of the other girls ended up trying after a few failed attempts of something else. So she's gone for that kind of palm up high on the left volume and then coming across to match on that 2-point contact volume on the right.
Yeah.
Just to the top of that volume that the jib is on. Not really seeing anybody use the actual jib.
Would the route setters put that there to confuse the athletes?
Look, I like to think that if it's on the wall, it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
They don't tend to put red herrings on boulders,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that it needs to be used to climb the boulder.
Totally. You can climb a boulder however you want as long as you start right and you finish right.
That's it.
Everything else can be interpretive the entire way.
You can even skip the zone.
Absolutely. But that is a bit of a risk because if you don't reach the top before skipping the zone, if you skip the zone, then you're not going to be awarded that zone. Whereas if you make the top, if you've skipped the zone, then you get awarded that zone
Exactly.
afterwards. As we saw Claire almost deciding to skip it as we were speaking about it.
Yeah. It's a little bit too high in that position. The foot doesn't look so good to be able to get that next move.
Looks really hard to use. I think those white streaks are jewel text, am I wrong?
I think they might
Quite
be.
sure, yeah. When we say jewel text, it's almost like climbing on glass, jewel text. You definitely cannot trust a foot on glass, so I would not trust a foot on jewel text as
No.
Kira goes into the first paddle move.
But one thing that we're seeing a lot more, both in World Cups and in local gyms and social comps and all level of boulder comps, is route setters using dual text as the part of the hold, or I should say, they're using the shiny part of the hold as the usable part.
Absolutely.
So they're putting the shiny part face up for you to stand on or for you to hold with your hands. We all saw, the translucent no text holds.
Crazy.
We saw climbers wetting their hands to be able to stick
Yeah.
to them. So a lot of really crazy techniques coming out with different use of these holds. Pretty cool.
Absolutely. Kira's made some really good progress here on her second attempt. She managed to stick the first dyno without paddling. She opted for a double Gaston. Now she's trying to press into the next move and she just falls off. Maybe not quite committing as much as she needed to get that distance there. As we see, there's the dual text on them as we were talking about. They're going to be very hard to use and the climbers are going to have to get quite creative with them.
That's it. They're going to have to be really careful with how they use those volumes to basically try and avoid the shiny parts.
Yeah. So we see Harper almost break the boulder. On to Kira now, getting to the zone hold for the second time. She's going to opt for a little bit more of a static method potentially here. She's got her fingers in a screw hold, it looks like, for a moment there.
Hard to tell.
She decides to
crimping
press
the edge
through.
of the volume. Can't tell.
There's so much going on. We've got Harper sticking to the zone move. I believe he skipped that first paddle hold. Now, we can probably call these two boulders electric, can't we?
I think these are electric.
Yeah. We've changed it back.
And so electric is a combination of power and coordination, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Harper's on that final hold now. We see a great top from Harper. He did so well to climb through those volumes. I spoke so much about them, but he seemed to make them look very easy in the end.
He did on
Yeah.
the live stream.
I saw him attempting it a little bit earlier. He was trying to jump towards the zone hold without sticking the intermediate hold. I think that might have been how he stuck it, but I'm not quite
Yeah,
sure.
interesting.
As Kira makes it back up to the zone hold and presses back into the volume.
Ooh.
Almost missing some moves there. Now she's in it really comfortably. We'll see if she can kind of rectify her mistake from earlier. As she nearly plants the foot. That was really good commitment.
You could see there that she was really aiming to stab that foot on the volume. She really needs that to be able to basically hold that really awful sideways giant sloper.
Totally. She nearly got there. She's got very limited time remaining.
12 seconds on the clock.
It's going to be just enough time for her to top it, I reckon, if she really turns on the jets here. We might
Let's
see a
go,
buzzer beater
Kira.
here.
Oh,
she
not
slips.
quite.
With a smile, though. She did so well.
Such a good effort.
Speaking of the skin bank that we were talking about before, they are ready to withdraw all their skin.
Yep. All bets are off now.
Yeah.
It's just going to be non-stop.
So we've got both competitors moving into that first dyno. As Dylan Sixon on his first attempt, brilliant. seem to just not even worry about that intermediate hold as he Gastons into the sloper. Gets it with his left hand. He's really got to figure out something to do with his foot here.
Yeah, that's it.
He gets into a deep drop knee and matches the top hold. That is a top from Dylan. He's got 2 tops. What a round from the climber with an injured bicep.
That's it. He made that look really easy, completely skipping that first black hold.
Socks
I will say
got
that every now and then when I'm climbing outdoors and it's really cold, I will sneakily be wearing socks.
But you won't show anyone. You make sure you got pants on.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can leave the climbing shoes on for a long period of time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I can definitely see its place in a competition where you have to be sort of warmed up and ready in the isolation for long periods of time.
Come on, lady. Come on.
Going for that zone again. Not quite making it. Like you said, she's not quite getting over her foot on that hold.
See if she can try and change that mistake now.
Yep.
Minute and 20 seconds
look,
left.
I'm sure she knows this as well, and your body just doesn't want to do it.
Absolutely, and we're definitely the definition of backseat drivers here, sitting in our comfy commentary section. Maybe it hasn't crossed her mind yet.
I think we did see Kira, at least on one attempt, stick the zone with a single left hand.
Yeah.
But it almost looked like she was going for both at the same time, and the right maybe just slipped off the blue. But she still stuck the zone with her left hand.
Yeah.
It looks like what Noemi is trying to do now. She's just going single-handed to that zone hold.
Yeah. I really think it's kind of originating from her wind-up here. If you can see, she's not quite swinging back enough. Her body's staying very square onto the wall with only her legs swinging back. So Kotaro and Roxy onto the stage now for their final boulders. Maybe we'll see something special on this for both competitors.
That's it. We saw a lot of strength from Roxy on the cave boulder too.
Wow,
but
he does
obviously,
the move differently.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Come on, guys.
You're looking for a top here from Kotaro.
That was so interesting from Kotaro. I think that was the way the route setters definitely intended that move, but everyone's just been skipping it.
And he's using the volume where we haven't really seen other climbers use that volume at all.
Absolutely.
They're really just palming off the hold on it.
He looked like he wanted to give us a bit of a wave. There it is. He made sure he got the match first, though.
Paraclimbing has ever had a European Championships, which is really exciting.
Wow.
They interviewed one of the route setters and they said they're going to start setting coordination for a para.
Oh, is that exciting for you or is that scary?
We're all terrified.
All terrified. Okay.
Yeah. It also just goes to show that even for a lead climbing discipline, how important bouldering can be for training.
Absolutely.
Because they really incorporate so many boulder style moves into lead climbing now.
Yeah, totally. It's been really interesting to see in the World Cups lately as well. There's almost always a dyno on a lead World Cup now, so you got to have so much composer to execute those moves.
Yeah.
Roxy's staticking this second section. Oh, she nearly sticks it. That was brilliant from Roxy. That could be the method.
That could go, yeah. We don't have a timer on the screen at the moment, but time is definitely coming down. Yep, she's only got 40 seconds on the clock. So it's going to be a bit of a rushed attempt on this. And a really cool paddle through that. I don't think I saw any other climbers try that. She went through the blue with 2 hands and then left onto the zone.
Just adding some flavour for her last attempt.
Truly, love it.
See if she can pull off something special here as she uses her shouldery strength to come into that first move. She's really got to commit here. Come on, Roxy.
Oh, so
that
close.
That was such a close attempt. Really difficult positions. I think even if you stick that move, it's not all over. It looks like a really tough position to generate from there.
That's it. And we've seen so many different methods on this boulder from the men. So you just never know what you're going to get with this one, I think.
Seeing Riley doing really good work on this last boulder. He's going to leave it all on the mats here, I think.
And he's kind of looking like he's using Kotaro's method with palming the top of that volume, looking for a stable position at the top, and he nails it.
And he does it. He gets his first top of the comp. He'd be really happy with that consolation prize, I think.
That's it.
As we have Tao pressing into those second volumes using that Roxy method as she slips off.
But, I mean, looking at it in person, I can see it through the crowd right now. It's probably a lot more 3D than it looks on the screen.
Yes. These climbers perform some magic sometimes.
That's it.
Tao comes into that volume again. She might be looking to do it statically again as she brings that other one in. She wipes her hand to get a little bit more friction. She moves in statically to that first hold. And she sticks it. We don't know what this last move looks like yet, so we hope that Tao has the ability to do it, and she does.
Amazing.
She kept that composure, and Tao having a really good run with 3 tops in this boulder round.
Let's see him go from the start hold to the top in one go.
Yeah. What do you
Hop
think?
and
Do you think he's
Capano.
going to do the intended with the toe hook, or do you think he's going to jump straight to the next hold?
I think we'll see him go straight to the zone.
So we got Charlotte going for this first position as
And
she's
she did
the
the
first
paddle
competitor
too.
to paddle it. And Rico off screen sticking that first move as well, but Charlotte looking to compose herself a little bit here. She's done the zone hold. She chalks up to get a little bit more friction on that volume and seems a little bit indecisive as to what she's going to do.
Hesitating a little bit to really commit to holding the right side of that volume and go straight for the bump onto the right side. She's got a really long arm span.
Absolutely.
I don't think a lot of the competitors in this field tonight could do this move.
Oh, wow. Easy done from Charlotte. She makes that last move look even easier than Tao, using her
Super
height to her
impressive.
advantage. She'd be really happy with that to get
That's
a
it.
flash in the final boulder. Tried to dyno to the last hold, I'm quite sure. It didn't quite work out for him as we saw a lot of the other athletes sort of guppy that volume to try and get to the top.
Oh,
Rico
he
goes
went
with the
for the
intended
toe.
method, which is what I probably didn't expect. Jumps with ease to that zone hold.
He's still hopping.
Hopping, yeah, he's hopping. He's not jumping, he's hopping.
Yeah.
Oh!
And it looked like he wanted to jump for that again.
Yeah. Not hard enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then to see her flash this cave as well, I'm thinking maybe the cave wasn't hard enough in finals either.
Yeah, she probably would have liked those boulders to be the separators because that would have been a really good advantage for her.
Totally, yeah.
But
If that's your style, you kind of want to be the only one that's good at it.
Yeah, and it ended up being really the slab that separated a lot of people. As Enrico
That's
looks
it.
like he's sizing up the top here,
Oh,
gets
he
it with his
got-
right, comes in with his left, and he secures the top hold.
Don't do that unless you're prepared.
Yeah,
Don't do that without warming up.
absolutely. Claire makes the first jump look easy, and Ned also sticks the first jump off camera. Talked about that synchro climbing earlier. Both competitors moving into the slow section, with Claire maybe taking a little bit more time to compose herself. Ned just going in with full confidence here. He's decided to opt to move to the right side of the volume a bit more. He's trying to transition back to that guppy he was using before. Comes in with his right hand.
That's it.
seems
And
a
he's
little
not sure about
confused.
which part of the hold he wants to use either. He's gone for the bottom section.
Oh, he
Still
slaps
fighting
down.
for it.
Claire falls off camera. Ned's really fighting. He wants this.
Come on, Meg. Come on, you got this. Come on.
There we go. Ned using so much strength. We were silent just then. We were
That
so
was-
gripped by what was happening. Sarah and I were in a
Just
daze.
concentrating so hard on what he was doing. Just that right hand coming up so slowly,
Yeah.
inching towards the volume.
How hard do you think he was gripping just then?
Oh my God, so hard.
Yeah, he would have been absolutely leaving it all out there just then.
But that's it. That's his last boulder. He's done. So
Yeah.
he was able to try as hard as he could on that one.
Absolutely, as we see Claire sticking that jump as well and
Claire,
finishing off
oh.
with a top.
Amazing.
And that does it for all the athletes out tonight. What a brilliant show that was. Really saw a great variation of the different styles. And so,
We've got Open A women's results up on the screen now.
so we have Tao coming in first position, Claire coming second, both Boulder Lab athletes, and Charlotte, who actually coaches out of Boulder Lab as well.
She does.
In first, second, and third, followed by Kira Larson, Roxy
Who's also
Perry,
a Boulder
and
Lab
Noemi.
climber.
Yeah, Kira is also a Boulder Lab climber, dominating the women's field.
Absolutely.
In the Open A men's, we've got Kataro Hirasawa. Sorry if I butchered that.
And I think we had Ned in second place. Really good showing from Ned this round.
And we have Dylan Marlowe in third place.
Well done, Dylan, with the injured bicep.
Amazing by Dylan. He did so well. We've got Harper in fourth, Riley Thurston's in fifth, and Enrico in sixth. So for the women's in the A category, in third place we have Charlotte Garden. And in second place we have Claire Sheffings, a Boulder Lab athlete. We've got Tao Murasara in first position. Pretty sure that is her first win at a state level in the Open, so really great achievement for her.
Super cute.
Earlier today, and she ran away from me.
So for third place in the men's, we have Dylan Marlowe.
Second place for men's is Ned Middlehurst. First place, Kotaro Hirasawa.
Displayed so much strength today. He did. Really amazing performance from these three athletes.
Absolutely, super impressive round for all three of them.